Hello and welcome to episode 73 of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
And I am Legend. No, I'm just Ian.
You are not Legend.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
I don't even know about that.
No, you're right. I can't stand myself. I'm the harshest
That's funny
critic.
because no one else can stand you either, Ian.
Yeah, well, hey, there's consistency then.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
What is I Am a Legend? What is that for? Is that
It was
it the
Will Smith movie.
that Will Smith movie? What was that even about? Do you remember?
he was all by himself in New York with all those like vampire
Oh,
creature
yeah,
things.
that's right.
It's based on a book by Richard Matheson.
I'm all by myself.
There was the original version was called Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
I think I do remember hearing that when the movie came out. Any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@lifeingeneralpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter at LIGpod. We're on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, Google. We're on TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, all those other places. So what's going on in the world today, Ian?
The usual mass shootings, things like that. Just normal stuff.
Is that what it is?
It is
Jeez,
now.
It is now. That's a dark place to take it really early on.
I mean, we were just talking about it. There's what can you do? If that's going to be the norm, and the people who are responsible for doing something about it aren't going to fucking do something about it, there's nothing we can do about it. So it might as well be just business as usual, right?
Speaking of business as usual, how about a topic for this week?
Yeah, that's not political or anything
at all. So I guess this is probably what the third or fourth month in a row we've done this now. So the first episode every month is like our big vinyl or big music.
Yeah,
it's been vinyl, but
it's going to be today.
That's what this episode's going to be too. So it's like our big vinyl episode of what's this, June now we're into?
Yeah.
I feel like the year's like flown by.
Every year's flying by. It happens when you get older.
Yeah. Well, you're older than me, so
that's why I'm telling you.
Does it go by faster for you?
Every year it goes by faster. Every year.
You got like 1 foot in the grave, man.
I've got like 1 foot, half my knee.
Half your emphysema.
Yeah, I don't have emphysema yet.
Yet. Yet is the key word.
It's only early stages.
Hold on, let me make sure. Before we get too far, I want to make sure I've got the mics selected on here so we don't have another
shitty episode,
like we had a month ago.
Yeah, when we did our other music episode.
Which one?
The other music episode.
Oh yeah. So for this episode, we're gonna discuss obviously some June music releases, some stuff that I found. I don't know if you've even bought anything in the last month. Well, you have.
Yeah. Well,
so stuff we've picked up in the past month. We're gonna talk some the rising price of vinyl. Digital versus analog masters we're going to kind of touch on real quick. And then also we're going to discuss an article that I had found talking about whether or not we're falling for the vinyl scam. So some interesting stuff we'd found last month, I mean. Mm-hmm. As far as releases, by the way, real quick, I don't know if it's because of Record Store Day, but there seems to be like a really bad backup of vinyl. Because
it seems to happen every year. I don't know about the timing, but I know last year there was a huge back catalog too.
Right after Record Store Day.
It was in the middle of the year. So
because it's several of the ones I'm gonna bring up. We mentioned on the releases for last month, and I actually going back and looking at some of the recent releases we talked about last month. Some of those have actually been backed up till July now.
Right.
So I mean, there's a big backlog right now. So total for the month of June, there's planned 677 releases
over the 4-week period.
Over the 4 weeks, and there's actually more. I found a lot more this month than I had found last month. Last month I felt like it was really thin, probably because of it, but it seemed like there was still a lot. Yeah. So for the June 7th, which is the first week, I think there were some that come out like the 5th. So I guess it's the week of June 7th.
Right.
You got the Forrest Gump soundtrack, which is a reissue, obviously, but which I might pick it up as. It's actually a really, really good soundtrack.
No, it's got a lot of great songs in it.
It's got the Bon Jovi's "Slippery When Wet," the red translucent release is coming out.
Okay.
Which I bought a used copy of it.
Yeah, I probably if I do end up getting it, I'll get used because I don't really have any desire for that to
No, I mean, it depends on the price. It depends on what the price is, but personally, now when I got back into collecting records, colored vinyl really didn't matter to me. A lot of times I would pick up black, but I'm to the point now where I don't know if it's close in price.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather have the colored vinyl than the black vinyl.
I'm indifferent. I'm just glad that it worked out the way that it did with the Alice Coopers being kind of reissued the way they were, because those are all colored.
Yeah,
and some of the ones that were released before they did this massive reissue were colored. So it works out that the vast majority of my Alice Cooper records are colored vinyl.
I understand. I know what you're talking about. Just when you say colored, it just sounds wrong.
What am I supposed to say?
I know that. But also Janet Jackson's Control's coming out, which I don't think I've ever seen that on vinyl. A Love Supreme by John Coltrane is being re-released. The Black Smoke Swirl, which I've seen for sale. I don't remember if it was SRC or somebody had a run of that last year, which I saw right after I bought my copy. So that's why I didn't get it. But it actually looked pretty sweet. It almost looks like smoke.
Yeah,
like old smoky room basically is what the vinyl looks like. So that's pretty cool. Lenny Kravitz is releasing Mama Said and Circus and 5 all on colored vinyl.
Okay.
King Bee by Muddy Waters is coming out on Translucent Gold, which is actually a pretty good album.
Yeah, no, it is. I want to get that actually.
Yeah, I'll probably pick that up. Pink Floyd, The Division Bell is coming out on Translucent Blue, and it's the anniversary edition. And it's
25th anniversary.
Yeah, and it's a lot more expensive than I thought it should be, but that's
like $50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I might still buy it.
Now that you mentioned it, that's probably what I paid for my copy of Division Bell.
Right, because you got the remaster, but it's not the colored vinyl.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm going to get it. I mean, I don't really need it to be all that bells and whistles, but I do like the album, so I'm gonna.
It is it is a really good album. Yeah. I think it's a lot better. I think it's definitely the best post-Wall album.
Yeah, I like Momentary Lapse of Reason a lot, though, too. So
I think it's better than that and
Final Cut. I've never listened to Final Cut. So
Final Cut's got some good songs on it.
Does it?
Yeah. So June 7th, also Real Big Fish is releasing Life Sucks, Let's Dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rush is releasing Time Machine 2011 live at Cleveland, live in Cleveland, which is a quadruple LP. So I'm sure that'd be pricey, but
I do want to get some. I do want to get the Rush catalog, but I have to decide if I want to go used or if I don't, because with each artist I want to go either or. I don't want to have.
You don't want mishmash.
No, I don't mind getting used albums but if I have an artist, if I get used, it all has to be used. And
when I was at Dearborn Music, which that's the record store I always go to.
That's our big store.
Go to most of the time. I was there last weekend, and they actually had in their used section, because they put all their.
Was it Counterparts by Rush? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, they had a couple of them. There were like 3 or 4 Rush albums, but yeah, every Sunday morning they put all their new used vinyl out from the week. Yeah. And there was there's a couple of
I think I saw Counterparts in the video.
I know there's more than one. Okay. So and then June 14th, there's 164 releases coming out that week. But the first one I'm going to bring up, not because it's really all that important, but it's a funny story behind it, is Blink-182's Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. They're releasing the translucent red copy, which looks pretty cool, but I've already got it.
Right.
And the reason I want to bring that up is because I've been a Blink-182 fan for years, from probably when Dude Ranch came out. So it was in 97.
Yeah, I would say late 90s for sure.
And so I remember when Take Off Your Pants and Jacket came out, it was like 2000, 2001. And so I've been listening to this album for, 18 years. And it just happened to dawn on me a week or so back. I listened to the vinyl, and I was posting on Instagram, and like I was looking up the release date for the album, so I put the release date in there, and it kind of dawned on me that what the title of the album really is saying. It's just obviously a blatant masturbation joke that I never got until just recently.
I still just see it as pants and jacket, because the old saying is take off your hat and jacket, maybe.
Yeah. But what he's saying is take off your pants and jacket.
Yeah, okay.
And it was funny because that day when I realized that, I was talking to Mandy, and I even said it to her, and she looked at me like, "You don't." She's like, "I knew that the first time you said the title of the album."
Well, apparently our minds aren't as dirty as your wives, because I didn't get your wife.
My wives. Whoa.
Your
that
wife
escalated really
wives,
quickly.
as in like not in
my harem,
in the possessive, not in the plural.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So apparently we don't have dirty minds.
Yeah. So the 14th, also Lenny Kravitz is releasing "Let Love Rule" on colored vinyl. He's actually releasing over the month of June. He's releasing quite a few albums.
There's quite a few of his I'd like to get.
Yeah. Leonard Skinner's Innards Greatest Hits is being released on brown vinyl. They're also releasing Second Helping on purple vinyl. And I was never like a really huge Leonard Skinner fan. I've got one or two other albums.
I like Simple Man. That's the only song of theirs I like.
That's a good song. Meatloaf's releasing Bad Outta Hell 2 on translucent blue vinyl.
That's unfortunate.
Hey, I'm sure there's some Meatloaf fans out there. Neil Morris is releasing Jesus Christ the Exorcist on triple.
It's a rock opera.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Because I couldn't really find anything on it. I just knew it was new.
Yeah, it's a rock opera, and a lot of the performers are people from Spock's Beard and Dream Theater and
Gotcha.
a whole bunch of other bands that he's dealt with.
Pharrell Williams is releasing In My Mind. Look What the Cat Dragged In is being released obviously by Poison.
Yeah.
Being released on translucent. It doesn't say what color. It just says translucent reissue. Which is one I've been wanting to pick up. I just haven't. I don't know why I haven't yet.
Yeah,
maybe
you got to open up and say ah.
Yeah, I've got to open up and say ah. Probably just the cost. Yeah. I mean, I think the cheapest I found is like, $32.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into price of vinyl here in a little bit.
And there's a lot of albums where that's fine to me. I see that price, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I have no problems with me. Yeah. And I see other albums, it's like, is that worth $35? I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. When it comes to, I don't know. We'll talk about price in a little bit. I don't want to get off on that tangent here real quick. But, yeah, so that same day on the 14th, REM's releasing Best of REM 1988 through 2003. It's a quadruple LP that they're releasing. Sponge is releasing Demoed in Detroit, 97 to 98. I've never heard it before. It's just all demos. I'm interested in it, though, because I'm a Sponge fan. I like some, obviously, Roddy Piñata's a fantastic album. Yeah. The Verve is releasing Urban Hymns on double green LP.
Right in time, because I don't know if you heard, Jagger and Richards gave up their claim on the on that song Bittersweet Symphony.
Oh really? Yeah. Good. It's a fantastic album.
I never was a big fan. I know you had it and you played it a lot and it wasn't bad. I was never a fan.
And Bittersweet Symphony is not nowhere even close to being the best song on that album.
No, it wouldn't be, but I just remember there being a lot of hubbub because the Stones claimed that plagiarism, and then they had to give all their royalties to them about it. Well, now they're giving up their claim to it. So now if they re-release it, the band itself will actually get money for that.
Yeah. So the Who's also releasing Who's Next on blue vinyl, which I've got Who's Next already, but and that's probably the only Who album. I mean, I might buy Tommy, but
I have Tommy, but I don't have that one.
Who's Next is a fantastic album.
It is. I've got Tommy. I've got It's Hard. And that's it, actually, by The Who. So.
But yeah, I just picked up Who's Next probably a couple months back, 2 months back. Yeah. 30 Seconds to Mars is releasing A Beautiful Lie on red vinyl, which is a pretty good album. I'm not a huge 30 Seconds to Mars fan, but they've got some pretty good songs.
What's his name's band? The Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, yeah. U2 is releasing the 30th anniversary edition of Joshua Tree.
Ooh.
On double vinyl, which I've got that on. I've got the reissue, but I don't think there's anything, at least from what I was looking at, I don't see anything different on the 30th anniversary edition than what was on the reissue.
Other than it being a double record?
Well, the reissue I have is a double.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So June 21st, you got the entire, I'm sure you'll be excited about this, you got the entire ABBA catalog being released.
I'm so excited I would blow my brains out before I would ever buy it.
This is one that I talked about last month, and I might have talked about the month before that, which was Goldfinger's Hang-Ups, which is the gold reissue. I'm sure it's going to be released some month, this month or next month. Hootie and the Blowfish cracked rear view I talked about last month.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the list to come out this month, so it's obviously been pushed back at least a month. Lenny Kravitz's Greatest Hits, which I don't know if I've got this, but I'd like to pick this one up because it's actually the silver. So it's a double LP. One's a silver and white swirl, and the other one's a blue and white swirl.
Oh,
But
interesting.
The Megadeth is releasing Peace Sells, but who's buying on purple.
Okay.
I was never.
Yeah,
a Megadeth
I like
fan.
some of their songs. I'd probably buy some Countdown to Destruction.
Yeah.
Because I had that on CD, and that was a good album.
The Steve Miller Band is releasing their catalog, which I know that's something we talked about last month. It's on the scheduled to come out this month.
Yep.
The Raconteurs, is that how you say their name?
Raconteurs, yeah.
They're releasing Help Us Stranger.
Is that a new album? Because they just released one recently.
I don't know it.
Huh.
But I'm not a fan of theirs.
No, their songs, they got some good stuff. I like Jack White, so I mean, I like stuff, anything he's involved with. I don't like the Dead Weather. That's another band he's in.
Yeah.
As much, but I like the Raconteurs. I mean, it's kind of an extension of what he does solo on the White Stripes.
Willie Nelson's releasing Ride Me Back Home, which I like Willie. Willie's cool. Okay. And I've never heard of this band. I've heard of this band. I've never listened to them, but I'm on a couple of different Facebook vinyl groups, and everyone keeps talking about Thrice. But they're releasing 2 albums next month. And like I said, maybe I should listen to them. I don't know. Everyone shouldn't say everyone, but there's been a lot of conversation about them.
I'll give them a listen. I'm always up for finding something new. Always.
Yeah. June 28th, you've got Plus 44 When Your Heart Stops Beating, which is I've had it on pre-order for like 2 months now.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out last month. I got a hold of the place I ordered it from, and they told me June 7th. When I looked online, it says June 28th. So who knows? Maybe I'll be talking about this in July.
Yeah, who knows?
Billy Idol's releasing Rebel Yell on Translucent Red.
I might buy that just for nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a good album.
Yeah.
For what it is. Billy Joel's releasing River of Dreams on Translucent Gold. It says it's an anniversary edition, so I'm not sure. Is that?
I don't
25 years? So it was like
Is that the one with? I don't know. I don't know Billy Joel that well.
Yeah, neither do I. At least his newer stuff, I don't.
What's the name of that album?
River of Dreams. And here's an interesting one that is coming out. So like I said, this is June 28th. I actually want to listen to this probably before I buy it. It's Great White. And the name of the album is Great Zeppelin, a tribute to Led Zeppelin.
Really?
So I don't know. So I'm hoping it's on. I'm sure it will be on streaming services. But
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely want to check that out. And if it's, I mean, it might be pretty good. Great White was all right for what they were. 80s hair band.
Right. River Dreams was 93, so this would be 26 years.
26 years. So I don't know. So it's odd anniversary edition.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been backed up. It might have been
last year. Yeah, that's possible.
August 10th, 1993 is when it was released.
Huh. But Hole, they're releasing Live Through This on red vinyl. Hum is releasing You'd Prefer an Astronaut on green vinyl.
Yeah, I'll be definitely picking that one up.
Which was supposed to come out last month.
Yeah.
And of course, the month before that, I paid a lot of money for a 2013 copy.
Hey, look at it this way. You paid a little extra to get it early.
That's true.
Really early.
And if you really want to pre-order the album, which you should, it's a really good album. I think on SRC vinyl, I want to say it's like $25.
The new one?
The reissue? Yeah, and I paid like 3 times that for my 2013 copy.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
Kansas is releasing the red and orange swirl 40th edition of Monolith.
That's not my favorite of their albums, unfortunately. There's some good songs on it.
I don't know if I've ever listened to it.
There's some good songs on it, but as a package, especially following after Point of No Return.
You said package.
Did I?
You said package.
Did it work?
Package.
Did it make sense in the sentence?
You did, but package.
What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Oh, my God. Just making a penis joke, Ian. Just making
I get
a penis
it. I
joke.
understand, but, Anyway, Monolith,
Stab you in the face.
As a follow-up to Point of No Return, I think it fell very short, unfortunately.
What? Oh, that came out after.
Yeah, it was 79.
Okay. What else? So you got the entire the whole Primus catalog is coming out.
I was never a big Primus fan.
Neither was I. I have some friends that are Primus fans. I were Primus fans, and then REM is releasing Document on Translucent Gold.
Okay, that's already, you can still buy that new.
Yeah, see, that's.
I guess that would be one of those situations where you look at that and go, whatever's cheaper, because it's a good album, but does it need to be colored vinyl?
No, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up when we talked about the price of vinyl. Is it seems like a lot of these seem like money grabs to me.
To a degree, I'm sure,
because they know that there are people out there that want to be like a completist and own every single copy of the album ever released. Well, and I see people on my Facebook groups that I'm on where they'll have
three different versions.
No. They'll have like 15 to 20 different versions of the same thing. Like every single color it's ever been released in. Yeah. They'll have test pressings of it, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's extreme collecting. That's nothing anywhere near what we do.
No, but yeah, that's the list. At least of the stuff that I found interesting that's coming out next month.
Yeah.
And I don't know. What have you picked up in the past month? Anything good?
Not a whole lot. Just I have like 3 albums actually. 3. I got Injustice for All, Metallica. I found a used copy of High and Dry, Def Leppard. And The Grand Illusion by Styx.
Okay. So I think you just posted that on Facebook.
Yeah, I finally was able to sit down and listen to it yesterday.
I still have probably half the stuff I bought on Record Store Day I haven't listened to yet, which I know is
me too.
Almost a sin.
Have I listened? I think I've listened. The only one I still haven't listened to is Green Day's Woodstock,
which is good. I did listen.
I have not listened to that one yet, but I think I've been able to get through at least one full listen on everything else.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so the past month I didn't find anything really great. Obviously, like the month before I got that, I had a couple of really good ones I picked up. But this month I got, I found an original copy of Synchronicity by the Police. I got the 2013 reissue of Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. I got an original pressing of Built for Speed by Stray Cats. I got an original pressing of Photographs and Memories by Jim Croce. And then I got, I found actually, have you ever heard of the band Boxcar Racer?
No.
So it was Travis Barker and Tom, I don't remember his last name, from Blink-182.
Okay.
Started their own band. This is like early to mid 2000s.
That was the other one. The other guy went off and did Angels and Airways, right?
No, Tom was the one that went off and did Angels and Airways.
Oh, okay.
And then Mark is their bass player. He wasn't involved in it. So they started Boxcar Racer, and they released one album. Is all they ever released. And I found it online for I mean, it wasn't like super expensive. It was probably like $30 or $40, and it was never. I mean, I've listened to it. I've got it on. I listen to it occasionally on Apple Music. It's nothing fantastic. I think they're obviously Blink is a better band than what they were. Anything than the Boxcar Racer album was. But I found it for like $20. So I picked up a copy of that, and then I got an acoustic Sublime album.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were telling me about that one.
Which the only time I'd seen it once, I didn't even know it existed.
Is it live?
No.
It's studio recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd only seen it once at, I think it was like Barnes & Noble or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know it existed. I picked it up, looked at it, and was like, thought about it for a little bit, and was like, I'll go ahead and put it back, and next time I'll see it, I'll pick it up.
Pick it up, yeah.
And then...
You didn't see it for a long time.
Yeah, until just recently.
Yeah, I've done that so many times, and then when I do finally get around to getting the album, it's like 3 times the price. It pisses me off every time. Didn't
you have a Alice Cooper album?
There's still an album. It's Welcome to My Nightmare 2.
Yeah.
It came out in 2011, And 2012 was when I started looking at records again, and it was in the store. It was like $35.
Yeah.
And I didn't have money back then. I didn't even have a turntable back then. So when I did get my turntable, I went to go buy it. It wasn't there. So then I looked it up on Amazon, and it was like $60. And now it's over $100.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So it's just, yeah.
How much over 100? Like just over 100?
Just over 100, yeah.
It's not
I'm not
bad,
paying
I guess.
$100 for it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a completist.
You want it for the collection.
I want it for the collection, and it's a good album. It is a really good album, but I mean, I'd put it actually. I would say it's actually better than the first Welcome to My Nightmare. Honestly,
Really?
yeah, honestly. But it's just I'm not paying $100 for it. There's only one album I'm willing to spend over $100 for, and I still haven't. And that's because it's close to $200 or $300.
Yeah, it's probably actually last time you were talking about Roots to Branches, and last time I saw it, I want to say it was $300.
And I could get it any time. I'm afraid that as soon as I do get it, it will be reissued.
That's
don't
one
want
album
that
that I don't think is ever going to be reissued.
It might be because it has gained a lot of popularity over the years. It has, as far as amongst Tull fans, it's considered one of the greats now, as it should be because it is. It is
a fantastic album.
In fact, it's arguably, I would say, I'd put it in their top 5 of their albums. Honestly,
right now in Discogs, it's going for the cheapest. Is $202.
Yeah, and that's around where I've seen it, and I've seen
that's not bad.
I've seen it as high as $350.
Yeah.
So
the highest it's ever sold on Discogs was $224.
Right. I saw it, and when I first found it on Amazon, it was $349.
Wow. So. And as far as like their reissues, from what I've heard, the only things that they're going to reissue is whatever Steve Wilson wants to remix.
Yeah, Ian Anderson said he's in an interview. It's up to him. If he wants to keep going, it's fine. Keep going. He can do whatever he wants with it. He's worked with Steve Wilson. Steve Wilson actually mixed Thick as Brick 2 for him.
Yeah.
And he's been working with Steve Wilson since 2011. So he likes what he's been doing, and he says whatever he wants to do, he can do. Whatever if he doesn't, it's done.
Yeah.
So. And I assumed they'd go through at least the 70s, which they have. At least Stormwatch is done. They just haven't fucking announced the release date for it. It's pissing me off.
I thought it was supposed to come out last year.
It's 79. They've been doing them on the 40th anniversary.
I got you.
And the website says coming in summer, but that's it. There's been no details about the bells and whistles.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, because it'll be reissued on vinyl with his mix. But the vinyl will be the original studio album. It won't be anything bells and whistles. New packaging, updated packaging, but that's it. With these, I get the CD package too, because it'll have usually anywhere from 3 to 5 discs, and it'll have a shit ton of bonus stuff.
Yeah.
For example, War Child had 2 unreleased songs. A bunch of demos and stuff like that. The Minstrel Gallery had a whole concert that was lost for 35 years.
Yeah.
And they managed to put that together. Songs from the Wood had one unreleased track and a bunch of really cool demos and stuff. And it had a DVD of a live concert from '77, and it's fantastic. I've never seen this particular show.
Yeah.
I've seen shows from the era, but I haven't seen this show.
That particular one.
And the show's like almost 2 hours long, and it's just awesome.
And where's it from?
It was that the Capitol Theater, I think. I think it's the Capitol Theater. And that was in the Songs from the Wood package.
Yeah.
Heavy Horses had 5 unreleased tracks on it, a bunch of demos. It had Bursting Out as part of its package. Which is the very first official live recording they ever did, or live release they ever did.
I don't know if I've got that. I used to have that on vinyl. I don't know if I do anymore.
I have it. I have my dad's copy, and actually, surprisingly, that one's in pretty good shape. But I don't think you listen to that one as much.
Obviously not.
And then, so Stormwatch is supposed to have at least, I think, 3 unreleased tracks and a bunch of demos. Which the 10-inch that we got at Record Store Day, the Dun Ringo song, is a demo version, and it's different.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I haven't listened to that either.
As an example, so yeah, I'm really excited to see what what the bells and whistles of that package is.
It ever gets released.
When it ever gets released. I just want to know what's on it. I'm really dying to know what's on it. So,
we were just talking about pricing. We might as well go into that. Yeah. So Ian found this article. And I guess, Ian, you sent me the article, so why don't you go into it?
I didn't read the article.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said that.
I know, you're throwing me under the bus.
Because the dumbass, he sent me this, knowing what we're going to talk about vinyl, sends me this well,
okay. Let me give you my side of the story. It's not an excuse because it doesn't excuse anything, but let me just give you my side of the story. I was outside at work on my break, and I always go through my phone, and it showed up in my news feed. I was like, oh, Nick might want to read that just from the headline. So I shared the article, and then I go back to work. Mm-hmm. That's it. I didn't have time to read it, and I just didn't think about it after that.
Then what did I do in response?
I don't know. What did you do?
I think I said, oh, that's good. Let's talk about that. And then here's an article that I wanted to discuss. Right. And I sent you an article.
Yeah.
And you didn't read that either.
I didn't. Honestly, I don't think I knew about that article till today because I just saw it and I was like,
you got to be. Are you
I don't look at my phone. I am not a phone person.
Are you like an 85-year-old fucking man?
No.
Because only like severely old people
ignore their phones.
Are as bad with their phone as you.
I just ignore my phone. I'm not one of those people who needs to be connected to everything and everybody. I'm quite content to just be tuned out.
But that was like 4 days ago you sent me
that. Yeah. And also I should point out that I was in like day 6 of a 7-day stretch. So what I was doing when I wasn't working was fucking sleeping.
Mm. Well, I mean, it's a really short article, but you should have read it. But anyway, so it's an article by...
I still can. If you can be a little long-winded, I could read through it right now.
Aren't I typically long-winded on these shows?
Not long enough for me to read an article, maybe not, but I'll give it a shot. What the hell?
So it's an article by Daniel Sanchez from 2015 of last year.
Well, if you're going to talk about it, I might as well just listen to you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's on, you can find it on digitalmusicnews.com, which is, I'm not really familiar with it. Sounds like an interesting website. Maybe I should check it out more often. But it's kind of asking the question of, is there a ceiling? And is the vinyl industry at risk of pricing itself out of existence?
Right. I would say that it's possible. Because I did read one, like maybe the first paragraph, and it said something to the effect of how, with the beginning of the resurgence of vinyl, things were like $20 to $30, and now everything's kind of looking like $30 to $50.
Well, yeah. What it really said was 5 to 10 years ago, records were in the $15 to $25 range, and now they're in the $25 to $40 range, and it seems like the average is somewhere in like the mid-30s.
Mid-30s, yeah. So I guess it's possible, but you also have to take into account, and we've talked about this before, the cost of producing vinyl records now, because they've had to rebuild the industry from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's why you're getting these delays that we were talking about in the releases, because there's so many artists and companies trying to get things pressed.
Yeah.
There's a backlog.
And actually,
that has a lot to do with the costs.
Yeah. If you would have read the article, later in the article, he's talking to someone that runs a pressing plant. Mm-hmm. Actually, just opened up their pressing plant in like 2017, because it was the year before this article was written, and talked about how they've had to add night shifts and add weekend shifts, and they've upped their production to like 250,000 units a day. And they said within like the next 6 months or so, they're hoping to double their capacity.
Right. Because they have to, because the demand is there. So you ask, are they in danger? Not yet, because I think the prices and the increases are reflective of the demand, the difficulty in producing, and the shortage of facilities that can do it.
Yeah.
Back in the mid part of the 20th century, that when that's all there was, there were plants all over the place, and they didn't probably didn't even have the same volume of demand either. But that's all they had. So now they've had to really restart the industry on this, but the problem is, it's not really that surprising.
I think some of the problem comes from is, and this is also in the article too. I think it was in this article. It might have been another one I was reading, but they were talking to someone that owns a record store, and they said that they're getting these. The record store themselves are paying $43, $44, $45 from the distributor for this album. So they're having to turn around and sell it. Well, I think they said like 52, 53. It's like a $7 or $8 markup on them. So they're not even making a whole lot of money off these records. But it's not they're not the ones. The record stores aren't the ones pushing up the price.
Prices, right.
It's the price from the distributor. So is this? I'm sure, and we've talked about pricing before. I'm sure that part of it is a rise in cost of production.
Right.
But how much of it is the record industry saying, look, we got screwed for the past 20 years when all the pirating and downloading and all this stuff started, and really still getting screwed with streaming services.
Right.
Because they're not making shit off streaming services.
No, not really.
So is this a way for the record companies to say, look, we know you're going to pay money for it. Mm-hmm. What's the difference if I charge you $25 for it or if I charge you $30 or $35 for it? You're still going to buy it.
Right, but it's the danger of that is you risk it getting to a point like where it's no longer financially viable for people to even bother. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like you're going to have your collectors. But in order to build this industry back up where it is, because as far as physical media goes, this is it. CDs will be gone. They're not yet, but they will be.
No, I mean,
people are going to stop buying CDs.
I don't know.
I really.
People
they
still
said
buy,
the same thing. People will still buy vinyl. No, eventually CDs are going to go away.
People still
buy CDs. I know they do.
CDs still sell quite a fair number.
Yeah, but if you look at the market share, we've talked about it. Vinyl outsells the CDs now.
But record companies make more money off CDs than they do vinyl, I think.
Because they're cheaper to
lot
produce.
Cheaper
to produce. But people aren't buying those in the same volume. They're buying the records, the vinyl. So the danger really is you can understand the cost now, but if it gets to a certain point and all you have left is the big, massive collectors, and you don't have the average Joe who might just walk into a store and say, oh, yeah, I've got a turntable. I'll buy that on vinyl.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry, CD will eventually go away. When that happens and you only have vinyl and it's too expensive, then there's no reason not to just use streaming services.
Yeah.
So now they've got to compete with themselves as far as that goes. Do you want your music to only be listened to on streaming services where you make nothing? Or do you want to be reasonable about your pricing and
find a way to
make extra on the vinyl, but not that much extra?
Yeah, and if you look at like industry numbers, vinyl, obviously, physical and digital album sales have slowly declined.
Yes.
But vinyl sales have been up. They
go up every year.
The number I saw. Now hold on. So the number I saw was vinyl sales are up 20.1% since 2016.
Okay.
But the numbers have actually been going down, and I want to say last year there was only like a 2% increase in vinyl sales.
Okay. So the increase, there's still an increase, but the increase is slowing.
It's topped off, basically. And it was the year before there was like a 16% increase. So it's definitely gone down. But it's obviously still up to what it was or what it has been. But, are we going to get to a point where people just say, because I've done it before. I've walked in a record store and picked up an album and go, oh, man, I'd love to have that. And then I'll flip it over and be like, yeah, I don't want it that bad, though.
Right.
And put it back.
I've done the same thing. Yeah.
And really, for me, the number is really, if something is $30 or more, I'll kind of pause on it.
Yeah.
And think, how often am I really going to listen to this? If it's $29.99, I'll take it to the door. If it's like under $30, I'm good with it.
Well, hopefully you pay for it before you take it to the door, Nick.
Yeah. I was thinking, on a side note, I was thinking about last time I was in the record store, and I was like, I wonder how much theft they run into at a place like this.
Well, see, that's the thing. Vinyl's hard to steal.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
CDs are a lot easier. You can shove them in your pants.
Yeah.
You know? But vinyl's hard to steal. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming their theft ratio is low. They've got people walking around all the time.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, back to numbers. I was gonna say, according to Nielsen Music, in 2017, vinyl accounted for 14% of all physical albums purchased.
Okay.
Which isn't that big of a number.
No, it's not. But considering it was a dead medium at one point.
So, and I guess I didn't look at it, but what's making up the other, 76%?
Was that specifically physical media?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess it would still have to be CD then, wouldn't it?
But I thought vinyl had really closed the gap.
I guess I shouldn't say sales, but the one article I read was that they were producing more vinyl records than they were producing CDs.
I got you.
I guess I should have clarified that. By that standard, I probably assumed that they were selling more, but maybe not.
In Canada, they've actually seen, last year they saw a 9.3% decline in record sales.
Really? Just overall or vinyl?
Vinyl.
Okay.
Just
and
vinyl
that could
sales.
be because of the rising costs, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. If your cost ratio or your profit ratio is too high, and it's going to start slowing the market down, then that's a problem. But it could also be that as many people have been kind of jumping into this and getting into the vinyl, they've collected as much as they can of the older stuff. Is there really enough new stuff to keep the industry going?
Yeah.
By itself?
Yeah.
Maybe, and that's why the vast majority of those releases for June are remasters and reissues and double dipping, because the new stuff isn't either not coming out fast enough, it's not selling well enough.
Well, speaking of not coming out fast enough, so I just ordered. So Logic released a new album last month. I ordered it on vinyl, and when I got the email back confirming my purchase, it said expect delivery, and I want to say 24 to 36 weeks or something like that. I mean, that's
6 months. Well,
no, I'm sorry. It says 16 to 24 weeks. That's what it was.
So it's about up to 6 months.
16 to 24 weeks. And I was like, holy shit. But then when I think about it, I did the same thing when I ordered, when MXPX released their album last year.
Right.
I want to say it took...
It was like 3 or 4 months, wasn't it?
I think longer than that. I want to say it was probably almost 5 months.
But that was self-produced and self-released.
That's
Is this
true.
Logic album that, or does he have a label?
No, he's got labels with
then that's where the disconnect is for that.
So there's obviously a delay.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, but 16 to 24 weeks, that's a hell of a delay.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was longer than 24 weeks.
At this point, no, because obviously they're going through a backlog. They're getting backlogged again, because they were last year too, and then they seem to have caught up. Things were coming out as they should. But I don't know if it's a record store day thing or what. If it's just on an annual basis, there's when you hit that peak time of things being released, everything just kind of gets backed up, and then once you're backed up, then you keep getting backed up.
It's kind of funny because there's a website I go to find all the upcoming releases. And so obviously they've got all June's on there. They've got some for July, but once you get past July, there's like really nothing.
Right.
Because they're not even giving release dates on a lot of stuff.
Now, is that strictly just vinyl releases?
That's strictly vinyl releases.
So, I mean, because there's obviously bands and artists that have release dates set through the end of the year.
Correct, but not
vinyl.
Not vinyl releases.
Right. Or they're just not sure if the vinyl releases will come out at the same time.
Yeah. You're right.
And then, and to be fair, the Tull stuff doesn't. The vinyl's at least a month behind the CD stuff always.
Now, what I can say about the article is where I think the article goes off is when he starts comparing the price of vinyl to the price of CDs and digital albums.
Right.
And he makes the comment of, I don't even remember what album he was talking about, but he said I could buy album X on iTunes for $10 I can buy it on CD
for $12.
for $12, but they expect me to pay double that for vinyl. I'm thinking, well, $25, 24, $25.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
And that,
that's where he was saying was,
right.
No, that's even too high. And that's
no,
I think it's unreasonable. I think it's completely reasonable for an album to be
up to $30,
$25 to $30.
Yeah, up to $30.
Completely reasonable.
And if it's something I really, really want, I'm willing to spend more, but not so much more. Not too much
I would
more.
say
I'll go as high as 50 if it's something I really, really want.
I paid a lot more than that,
right.
but I'm completely comfortable paying up to $30 for an album. Maybe that I'm not like in love with, but I know I'll listen to it and it's a good album and I'd like to have it.
Right.
Once I start getting over 30 and up to like the $35 range is kind of where I'm like, do I really want to buy this? Once it gets like $35, $36, $37, it's like it's harder for me to want to buy it, especially if I know A, I'm not really in love with the album. B, it's probably something I'm not going to listen to all that often, especially if it's something I'm like, oh, I'd like to have it just to have it. I don't want to pay that. Once it starts getting like 30 and above is when I'm like, I wonder if I can get this used. Because I can typically, if I can find it used, I can typically get it for, a quarter of the cost of
going
a
to
new
Dearborn
album.
Music, their used stuff usually is as low as $7 and up to about $15 for their used stuff.
Their used stuff, I've seen a lot of used stuff that's like $20, $25.
None of the stuff I've bought has been that high.
No.
And I don't think I've ever looked at anything that was that high. I think the most expensive used album I've seen there was like $14.99.
Well, like a lot of the Beatles used Beatles stuff is normally higher.
I think they do that because they know they can.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't, but they know they can. So,
but I don't know. The price is definitely something that's. I guess I really haven't noticed any kind of really big increases. Maybe a dollar here or a dollar there.
I honestly I paid $20 for Master of Puppets brand new.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's still there's still a lot of records that are cheap, and
there are.
And you also have to figure they're doing a lot of what used to be single discs. Now they're doing double discs. Mm-hmm. So that's going to increase the value or the cost and of production.
And I'm fine with that.
Right.
If
you're buying a double album, even though it's not really a double album, it's only a single album, but it's 2 discs. And you have to pay $40, but it's 2 discs. So you're really only paying $20 a disc.
Yeah.
So I mean you have to take these things into account.
And a lot of times those are on a double album because when it was originally released as a single album, they had to compress the audio to get it on that
to that 20 minute fit those 20 minutes on that one side.
And and we've talked about it before, when you compress audio to put it on vinyl, it changes the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes more sense if you got an album that's really pushing the limits for a single to put it on a double,
right?
Or even maybe not even have it on a double, but have a 3-sided disc.
Right, which a couple. I've got a couple that are like that.
I've got the Black Parade, which side D is just an etching on it.
That's the last Kansas album, Prelude Implicit or something, whatever it's called. Was that way? It's 3 sides and then an etching on the last side.
Yeah, but I can definitely see it as part of it. I'm sure is them trying to play catch up and kind of make up that lost revenue that they've lost over the last 20 years.
To a degree, sure, but they can't gouge us either because they will lose out in the end.
But they've done it before. I mean, this is not the first time we've had something like this happen.
No, but CDs at one point, they got to the point where they were, Best Buy was selling them for $8-10 a piece as a loss leader, and the actual record stores had to go to Best Buy to buy their fucking shit because it's cheaper than buying it at from a distributor. And because they still couldn't compete because they're now paying what you would pay at Best Buy, they had to mark it up something.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it's kind of the reverse. They devalued it. Now they're overvaluing it. Mm-hmm. You got to find that happy medium. That's what business is all about.
Yeah.
And, if you're not, you don't want to charge too much. You don't want to charge too little. You got to find that right balance.
But my fear is they're gonna look in the short term and not the long term, and say, look, in the short term I can charge more and we can make more money, but it would make more sense to charge a little bit less and make more money in the long run.
That's modern business mentality, though, and that's unfortunate because that's why shit doesn't last.
Yeah. So I didn't want to spend that long talking about it, but I did want to touch on the other article that I'd sent you, which was, it's called "What's Actually Going On with People When People Talk About Digital Versus Analog Masters."
Yes.
And we've talked about this before. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show or not, but because I know, and it's come up before because Jack White, obviously,
he's strictly analog, and to the counter, Ian Anderson is strictly digital.
And that's kind of where this article gets into, is what's really the difference here. So it's written by Anton Spice. It was October 18th, 2017, and you can find it on the vinylfactory.com, which is another website. It sounds interesting. I'll check it out. But and it's kind of going into what you just said. What's really the difference, and why
one artist is one way and one artist is another way.
Or why is there this negative stigma against digital masters?
I can paraphrase Jack White to a point. I know Ian Anderson's side of it a bit better, but I think it's kind of the same argument that we make about vinyl, that it's warmer. There's a crispness to it that you don't get with digital recording. Whereas Ian Anderson's point of view is that he's seen the progression over the last 50 years, and it's to the point now where when he's recording at the top of the line digital, 24 to 36 bit recording.
Yes.
And in his mind, the human ear can't even hear beyond that, the crispness. So, I think it's, at least for these two artists, I think it's a nostalgia versus practicality. Yeah. And to that extent, Ian Anderson doesn't even understand this whole vinyl craze. He's like, why? But,
it's interesting. And I think I really don't have an issue
either way. Yeah, me neither.
But I kind of understand why there is somewhat of a backlash against digital mastering. And that's because I've heard horror stories, well, not heard, but I've read horror stories on vinyl groups and chats and stuff that I've seen of people buying albums from overseas and come to find out they're oppressed using MP3s,
right,
or CDs, right. And
so I guess maybe I misunderstood the question. Are you talking about recording in analog versus digital, or pressing? Because
recording.
Okay.
Recording,
but that's what I was talking about.
But I think when people, that's what I'm talking about also. Yeah. But when people get that vinyl and listen to it,
it sounds like shit.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing is they're blaming the mastering, or blaming the master for the issue, for the song quality issue.
Yeah,
and the issue really with digital mastering is, digital is such a wide range,
right?
So on the lower end, on the low end, when you got like CD quality, which is going to run you like 44 kilohertz up, and then you get the higher range, which is probably what Ian Anderson is recording on, which is more like 96
plus,
or you can all the way up to like 384 kilohertz. So it's like this huge top end that you can record on, which you're going to find sound fine.
Yeah.
When you get below 96, you start getting in that lower like CD quality range. Right. And I think that's kind of what people hear, is they're hearing these lower end quality digital masters, and they're like, oh, well, this sounds shit. Oh, it sounds like shit because it's digital.
Right.
And that's not the case.
No.
And this article was really interesting because they talked to, or interviewed, I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 different engineers. And they all kind of had the same conclusion, which was, it's not really the digital versus analog issue you're going to have. It's who you're having engineer your masters.
Right.
And what bit rate you're engineering them at,
right,
or recording them at. And that's kind of the bigger issue when it comes to it.
Yeah, and I think with Ian Anderson, because he spent a small fortune revamping his studios and 2010, with all this top of the line equipment, the digital equipment, because he finds it easier to record with.
Yeah.
And having done it, back in the day, even before when analog was even more difficult, it makes sense that someone, especially at his age, would want something simple.
Yeah.
But he's a quality guy too. He wants the best sound quality, and so I get his side of it. The nostalgia side of me is also with Jack White, though. It's like, that's for decades and decades. This is how it was done, and it was done fine.
Much of the past 100 years.
Exactly. So, and it was fine.
Well,
mostly fine.
Since the 40s, say.
Yeah, right. Because before that, it was just what is it? Phonograph or whatever. Not phonograph, but
yeah. I want to say analog was like late 30s.
The analog tape was late 30s, early 40s, I think.
But one of the other engineers they interviewed said really there's not much of a difference between the two. But the other issue you run into is you have to make, when it comes to pressing the vinyl, you've got to make sure that the masters are cut for vinyl also.
Right.
That they're engineered for vinyl, because there's different sound variations on vinyl than what there are than you typically, or what you would normally have with a digital file. You can't generally take a full digital file and fit it on vinyl because there's sound limitations, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
But and
I mean, it's all a little more sciencey than my brain is capable of understanding. But I get the gist of what you're saying, yes.
But I understand also that, the other positive that I can see with digital is you lose a lot of like the hiss, pops, distortion that you get on analog. But I can also see where that on analog gives the sound,
the warmth, that we've
the warmth
about.
and character.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, when you first listen to a vinyl record, you're not going to have those hisses and pops. So, I mean, it's there.
No, and actually, if you take care of your album,
you won't have them anyway. Exactly.
You generally won't have them anyway.
You won't have them anyway. So, that argument's a bit on the
no, because
side.
they're talking about because they're talking about the masters.
The degradation of the quality.
Yes.
Yeah, analog tape by itself is going to break down. Digital never breaks down.
Especially with like older analog, I've heard stories of how they've got to take the original analog tapes from the 60s and stick it in the oven and bake it for an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Before they can use them.
Yeah, I mean, same with film. Film was the same way. Maybe even more volatile. They lost Universal lost their entire library in a fire because it was all that old film was extremely flammable.
Yeah.
And that would be like something about it was super flammable. They lost their entire. I mean, at that point they had pretty much digitized everything.
Yeah.
But not. A lot of it had not been done in HD or 4K or none of that. It was just digitally preserved.
Yeah. So
I can understand the desire to have something that is theoretically going to last forever in its original form. That's the one argument I can see with digital. But I think to some degree, even when you're using analog today, at some point it's going through a computer. So it's going through digital in the mixing or the editing and whatever process. At some point it's going through some computer. So it's going through a digital phase in this day and age. Not back in the day, but now. So with Jack White stuff, he's still but eventually at some point he's still.
But when they say digital versus analog, they're talking about the actual
ultimate record. The first part. I understand that. But the argument about preservation is what I'm talking about when I say at some point it has to go through a digital process.
No, yeah, I understand.
So, but I think at the end result is all that matters to me. And if it sounds good, I don't care what process they use.
Nope, I really don't.
I know when I buy a Jack White album or an album that has Jack White involved in it, I know I'm getting the best quality record that I'm going to get. And I feel the exact same way when I buy an Ian Anderson or Jethro Tull album.
Yeah.
For the same reason, just different sides of the spectrum. So, I mean, that's all I can say to that extent.
I will say real quick to kind of touch on, to go back real quick to when we were talking about things we had bought in the past month. I did order 2 Logic albums. Mm-hmm. And I ordered them from somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see what kind of sound quality they have. Yeah. Because I have heard stuff from that you can get some sketchy
Depends,
stuff.
I guess, are we talking Western Europe or Eastern Europe?
I don't remember where it came from.
Okay. Because if it's Eastern European, you might be in trouble. But
no, I generally when I look on there and I see like Ukraine and I won't buy anything.
Ukraine
like that.
Isn't necessarily West or Eastern, but it's Eastern, more Eastern than the other stuff.
But I think these 2 came from the UK. I believe.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be.
But
it could be 50-50,
but neither, as far as I know, neither one were released on vinyl. Both of them say unofficial releases.
Oh. So that'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
So I'm interested to see. Yeah. And I didn't overpay for either one. Neither one was like super expensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were decently priced. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Huh. But all right. So moving on.
Right.
It's start bouncing all over the place now.
Yeah.
The kind of the whole kind of premise of the episode was this article that I'd seen about the vinyl scam and whether or not we were being scammed. And this really wasn't the original topic of this episode. I just saw this, I don't know, a couple weeks back, and I was like, oh, it kind of made sense, and it got me kind of thinking about what has led us to this point. So it's an article written by Chris Moss. It was April 22nd of 2017, and it was in the Telegraph, so you can find it on the Telegraph's website. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that really kind of caught my eye is it's some of the numbers from this article. So it referenced a BBC ICM poll from 2016, or pretty early on in the article, and it said that 41% of people who buy vinyl have a turntable but don't use it. That's 41%.
Okay.
And 7% of all vinyl buyers don't even own a record player.
Huh.
So that's why it's like when you look at like the overall numbers of vinyl, X amount of hundreds of thousands of units that are sold a year, and you think of that, you think 41% of those people are buying this
and not
listening to it.
So what?
And 7% of them are buying it just to own it and not buy it to live. They don't even own a turntable.
Right. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are times, and they have just I bought the Grand Illusion last week or two weeks ago, and I bought Brain Salad Surgery 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I just listened to them yesterday. Uh-huh. So I get it. There are periods that I go where I don't listen to my records.
I think everyone kind of does that,
right? But whenever it's the time and the availability is there for me to listen, I am throwing a record on.
Yeah, all the time.
When I do dishes, sometimes even when I'm watching fucking TV, because there's nothing good on TV anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw a record on.
Yeah.
If I'm cleaning, listen. The other day when I did put those albums on, I wasn't doing shit. I literally just sat on the couch with the records on and just listened. Yeah,
there's a lot of times like
I can't understand why people wouldn't do that.
There's lots of times though, if I'm doing homework or whatever, I'll put on a jazz album or something like that and just have it on the background just to listen to it. My wife got tired of me listening to records in the basement, so she bought me a record player for upstairs. So now I listen to now it's almost every day before I go to work. I'll be upstairs. I'll come out of the bedroom. I don't turn the TV on.
No, you put a record on. Yeah.
I'll come downstairs, grab 2 or 3 records, go upstairs, and listen to records before I go to work.
Quite honestly, I'm thinking about doing the exact opposite because I usually listen to my records in the living room. I want to put a turntable in my bedroom for the exact same reason. So if I don't want to, get up, I can just put a record on and lay down in my bed.
Yeah.
Like I did when I was a kid, you know?
Now that I've got multiple record players, I listen to vinyl almost every day, regardless if I've got to work or go to school. So, I mean, it's just...
it's almost. But, yeah, I'd say you definitely listen a lot more than I do.
I mean, I would say I listen to records at least 4 days a week.
Right. And for me, it's probably 1 to 2 days a week right now. We'll see. When the summer comes, I'm a bit more active, so I'll have records on when I'm sitting out on the deck.
Yeah.
Because I can listen to it through the windows. And
it just... those numbers really kind of, almost kind of smack me in the face.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think the kind of what I take away from those numbers is there's really kind of 3 very different types of people buying records. You've got avid collectors that are listening to their vinyl religiously. You've got casual collectors that love having it, but are kind of ultimately kind of indifferent to the sound quality between vinyl versus digital. So they'll have it, they'll listen to it occasionally, but they're like, I'll listen to my MP3s or do whatever. And then you've got the 20s and 30s hipsters that are buying it just because it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I wonder how much I would assume that they kind of probably fall into that 7%.
That would,
I would assume that they probably take up a bulk of that 7% that are buying records just kind of as the art. Hey, it looks
and
cool,
quite honestly,
I have it.
as someone as I would imagine that you maybe more so than me, but we're kind of in the in between on the avid collector and the casual collector. We're in the middle of that because we're not buying thousands of dollars of records a week. Thousands.
Okay.
Of dollars
Well, yeah. I probably spent close to $1,000 1 week, but
8,000.
8,000.
Oh, 8,000 in a week.
8,000.
But that's not every week, and that's
No, but my wife would kill me.
Yes, she would. I'd probably smack you around a little bit just because it doesn't make any sense. But we're at the lower end of that middle range.
But when I say avid, I don't mean people that are spending lots of money. I'm saying they love their vinyl. They love the sound quality of the vinyl.
Right.
Even if they only have 15 records, they're listening to those 15 records is what I'm saying.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So then that's us.
And the second tier are people that own and buy records, but they don't really, I could put on Miles Davis and listen to it. Or, I'm sitting at my computer, I'll just put on Miles Davis on my computer and just listen to it that way because it's easier.
No. If I'm at home, I am listening to vinyl.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to music at home, I'm listening
to vinyl. I would at least put myself in that avid range.
Me too. But my point was, at the end of the day, the record labels and all that, they don't fucking care.
No, they don't.
But what I started to say was that 7% is how we get our used albums.
Yeah.
And how we will be getting our used albums for the foreseeable future.
That's true.
Because they buy them and they sit on them and they sit there for, whatever.
Sometimes
years.
it's not very long.
Right.
Because I've gone in there and bought used 180 gram
that are brand new
of shit that came out last year, and I'm like, how is this used
already? Yeah. And you can assume that maybe someone bought it and was like on a whim, was like, oh, I don't like that album. They listened to it and didn't like it, but I don't know. But that's going to keep us, those of us who are buying both new and used, it's going to keep us in used albums for a long time to come. So I'm okay with it. It doesn't make any sense to me logically, but I can see the benefit of it for those of us who,
But we've seen these booms before, and that's what I was kind of talking about earlier when we were talking about pricing. So we first saw this boom with 8-track.
Right.
There was this huge boom in the 8-track, and then what came along? Cassettes.
Right.
And everyone went out there. It was a huge boom in cassettes, and then ultimately it went on to CDs, and then finally MP3s.
Right.
So we've seen this multiple waves of these big booms.
Where is it going to go next? Because it went from MP3 to streaming, essentially, which is just streaming MP3s. But now it's gone back to the vinyl. As far as those other formats, CD's still around, but cassette and 8-track will not. I mean, if it comes back, I'd be fucking shocked. Cassettes have made a slighting comeback.
Yeah, there's some avid cassette collectors.
But the problem with cassettes is those break down too.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're really not designed to last. I mean, you can tell the difference. As at our age, we were buying cassettes when they were new, and you could tell the difference when you first bought it to 3 years later when it's been listened to, 60 times.
Yeah. But and that's the way this kind of plays into the whole scam aspect is, if you think about it, if there was never any kind of different form of music, and let's say records have been sold since the 30s, and
it's still the way it is,
and it's always been that way, the record industry loses out. The record industry makes more money when new ways of listening to music come out.
Right.
Because you've got all these records. 8-tracks come out. What do?
You buy the same records.
You buy the same records on 8-track.
Yeah.
Cassette comes out. What do? I don't care if you fucking had it on vinyl and you had it on 8-track. What'd you do? You bought it on cassette.
Right.
And then, CDs come out. I can. These are easier to listen to in my car. So it doesn't matter if you had it on record, 8-track, cassette. You bought it on CD again. You bought it digitally.
Right.
So now you've bought that same album
several times,
5 or 6 different times.
Yeah. No, I get that, but. And I can see them saying, well, we don't have anywhere else to go, so let's go backwards. Okay, that's the scam part. They're scamming us into now buying vinyl again as opposed to all those other things. But
I don't know if they're scamming us into
sell it. They still have to sell the concept.
That's what I'm saying is I don't think the scam is them pushing us to buy vinyl. The scam is, look, people are starting to find are more interested in nostalgic kind of things, bell bottoms and all this other crazy bullshit. Look, we've noticed sales are starting to go up in vinyl. Let's push more vinyl. Let's push this notion in the media that vinyl is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which I think it really is. But
I agree, and initially someone had to have already felt that way if it was growing for them to notice it.
Yeah.
So. Arguably, you could say it's not necessarily a scam. It's just business.
The way it's kind of gone.
Well, it's just saying business in general. You see what's working and you go with it. And if you're going with it, you might as well promote it.
No, and to be completely honest about that, I don't think there is a scam.
I don't either.
I don't think there is. But I think it was really interesting some of the information that they had in this article.
Right.
But if you kind of think about it.
I think it's more of an industry scam than a vinyl scam.
Maybe. A majority of record collectors in their late 30s and older, the whole vinyl revival to me seems more of a midlife crisis. You're kind of yearning for something from in a younger, simpler time in your life. A renaissance in music listening almost.
Right.
And if you think of it that way, I mean, it kind of makes sense because music, at least for me, it's the soundtrack of your life. I can put an album on and it just like instantly takes me back to certain moments of my life. And probably one of the first, if not the first memory I have is sitting in my bedroom with my little plastic record player when I was like 5, listening to Thriller.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And going even far to that age group, how we perceived the adult members of our family and how they experienced music. It was on vinyl.
Yeah.
There was always a record player. Every member of your family had a record player. Center stage in the living room.
My parents had one of those big cabinets.
Yeah, there was always a record player in every household.
Yeah.
Even older, even your grandparents. My grandfather had a turntable. Both of my grandparents had turntables. Pride of place in the household. So that's just how we were raised to see how music was listened to.
Yeah.
So going back to it, it's nostalgia, but it's also in my mind going back to the way it was meant to be, in a sense.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I mean, it's not. It can be however you can listen to it and enjoy it however you want. But for me, that's the perception that I grew up with, and that's how I want my experience musically to go forward.
Yeah.
When I put on a record and I close my eyes, I can almost imagine being, 5, 6, 7 years old in the living room.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on.
Yeah. I remember, so we had this big, one of those big cabinet record players, right?
Yep.
And I remember my parents putting on an Alabama record, and we had one of those, we had a fireplace in our house, and we had one of those like metal popcorn makers for the fireplace. I remember listening to Alabama and making popcorn in the fireplace.
And for me, it would be, my driving home from church and being halfway down the street, and you can hear music blaring from my house.
Yeah.
And you're pulling into the driveway, and it's still blaring. It's getting louder and louder, going in, and that's what's going on. The record's spinning on the turntable. And then, even as I got older, it was, the collection. Again, it's like I said, it's kind of pride of place. It's a fixture in the living room setting for most of my childhood. So it's just
I guess if there is a scam aspect to it, I think 180 gram is the scam.
Yeah, doesn't need to be that,
because 180. Yeah, I mean, it feels thicker and it's cooler and whatever, but they advertise it as, audiophile vinyl, and there's no sound difference between 180,
in fact, I'd be willing,
120.
You go if they just go back to 120 and cut, a couple bucks off the price.
But that's what I'm saying.
That would be nice.
I think advertisers and record companies are looking and understanding the market, and they're looking at 30 and 40 somethings that are probably a bulk of the record buying population.
Yeah.
And they're looking at that and they're saying, look, so these guys are in their 30s, their 40s, they've got more disposable income that they had in their youth. They're in this midlife crisis kind of phase.
Maybe.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's thicken, they make the vinyl thicker. We're going to claim that's, audiophile, and we're going to push it to the market. Mm-hmm. Because they know that they're going to go out there and buy up this music that they've already owned, that they've bought multiple times, but they're in a point in their life where they're like, look, I've got the money I've got the disposable income, let's buy it. I fucking do it.
Right.
That's what I do.
I know, but if given the choice, I'd much rather have thinner records. The one benefit, and this is you pointing this out to me, because I didn't even think about this before, but I've always kind of preferred the thinner albums, was the packaging gets wider, so the spines are more distinctive, and you can read your albums if you've got a bookended. I like that, but I prefer when I take an album out, the 180 grams too bulky for me.
Yeah,
I don't like. It still feels right because it's vinyl, but it's too heavy. When I pull out a used album that's like 120 or whatever,
110, 120, yeah.
Those albums that were pressed in the 70s. That's the feel. That's the right feel for me.
I don't know. It's record buying is it's almost an experience, though.
Yeah,
it's like,
well, we're all retraining ourselves, because and maybe even training ourselves in a way that we never even were before, because when that's all there was, that's just all there was. Now we have to look at things differently because there's so many other options.
Yeah. Well,
we have to really learn all this stuff. There was never articles about vinyl quality and that stuff in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Who cared? That's just what it was. But, now we have to really think about these things and work on, and, there's effort involved now.
For me, and I know this might sound strange to some people, but vinyl is more than just about the music with me, like vinyl buying. Yeah. So I go down, like I said before, Dearborn Music is the record store I normally go to, and it's not a very close store to me. It's a good 45 minutes if there's traffic, almost an hour to get there. And one of the things I love about going there is, if I go there on a Sunday morning, they open up at 11. I get there half an hour before the store opens. I stand in line with other record collectors, and we just talk vinyl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like the coolest, half an hour of my week. Yeah. But it's one of those things that kind of go into it, and it's just like when you bring a new record home, and you're peeling off the cellophane, and you're pulling out this big beautiful disc. Even the smell of the new vinyl,
Yep.
It's all part of the package that you don't have with any other medium.
No, I agree, 100%, 100%. And I get that feeling even from old vinyl, from used vinyl. And for me, it's sliding that disc out, and looking at it and seeing the grooves and yeah, and I mean it's everything.
It's a love affair with vinyl.
It really is. And like I said, for me, a lot of it has to do with just growing up. That was how music was listened to.
Yeah,
and that's, to me, I feel like I've been able to bring that back for me to the point where it's where I used to be when I was a kid.
Yeah, I know I've talked about before on a previous episode the sound difference between a digital file and vinyl. Excuse me. And I know I talked before about when I heard the first time I really noticed it was Dark Side of the Moon, where you could tell there's audible difference between the digital file that I'd listened to since 2007. Right. 2007 is when I got rid of all my CDs and went all digital. So for the past 11, 12 years, whatever it was, I've been listening to this digital file. And then now I sat down and I listened to the record, and there's just like a different depth and richness to the sound. And there's so many like different things that you pick up that you don't hear on the digital file, on the digital version of it. And I sat down, I don't know, last week I think it was, and I was kind of in a Blink-182 kick. And so I started listening to some of the records, and I put on California, which is their newest album. And it was the same thing. And it was something that I really haven't noticed as much on newer albums. But there's a couple of songs on California which I'll listen. I don't even want to listen to the digital form of it, because the record version sounds so much better than the copy I listen to on Apple Music.
Yeah. No, I agree. For me, digital is strictly out of necessity. Convenience. And really, when I say convenience, it means when I'm in my car and not home.
Yeah.
It's the my phone with the streaming services is the Walkman of the 21st century.
Yeah.
It's how back in the day you would buy blank tapes and convert your vinyl into record them onto cassettes so you could carry them around with you.
Yeah.
Because it was convenient. That's what it is for me. But when I'm at home, it's vinyl. It's unless I want to listen to something that I can't get on vinyl or I don't. True, have true. And there are things like that. But when I'm at home, I know I'm only thinking about what I have on vinyl.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going, what am I going to listen to? Let me go through my collection. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I don't know.
Vinyl collecting to me, like I said before, it's more than just the music. It's a whole package. It's the art. It's the packaging. It's the experience of buying it. It's the community. It's from talking to people in person, talking to people online. There, like I said before, there's at least 3 or 4 different vinyl Facebook groups I'm part of. So there's always conversations going on. It's the nostalgia aspect of it that I guess just kind of keeps me coming back.
Yeah,
it's not some kind of fad or marketing campaign.
Not for us. I mean, maybe
for the hipster kids.
Yeah, and then maybe the industry.
And I shouldn't even say that, because all 3 of my kids buy vinyl.
Right.
My daughter spent almost all of her birthday money last year on vinyl.
Right.
And that's not some marketing campaign.
No, because she's using it. She's listening to it.
Yeah. My kids listen to vinyl when they're down here. They'll be playing video games, Fortnite or whatever, and they'll be listening to records down here.
As they should be, because that's what we would have been doing as kids.
But then again, if it wasn't for me buying vinyl and listening to records,
true. I mean, they would still have their digital. But see, for them, it's the experience of that you've had to introduce to them.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it was just there.
Yeah.
It was just the way it was.
Yes, what it was.
So for what it's worth, the end result will be the same. I think.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I grew up on vinyl, and I hope to kind of raise my kids on that same kind of level of love for music, and I think I have so far. I mean, my parents instilled a love of music, and I've tried to do the same thing with my kids. I know they've had conversations between the three of them before of, oh, well, when you move out, who gets this record? Because all three of them like it.
Right.
So,
yeah, that'll be the tough part.
I think I got a couple of years to start to worry about that.
Well, 4 years, right?
They're not,
minimum 4 years.
I'm not letting them take their vinyl to college with them. They can,
oh, yeah, no. Yeah, so, yeah, you got a long time.
Yeah, once they graduate, that'll be their graduation present is to have their vinyl back.
You're a cheap bastard.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just thinking, because you won't pay for their college.
No, they could pay for their own college like I've had to do.
Well, there you go. You're not paying for their college. They graduate. You're just going to give them what they already own.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a cheap bastard.
That's how life works, kids.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's your shit back. Get the fuck out.
I think there's a song about you. It's called Bastard.
But that's all I had, Ian.
Yeah, that's we went longer than we would have needed to, but
almost an hour and a half. That's
but it's a topic that we both are pretty
vinyl is something. I mean,
pretty passionate.
I could probably spend 3 hours talking about vinyl.
Oh, we could easily. We very easily could. My nicotine withdrawals are starting to kick in, so that would put a damper on that. But we could always pause the recording and keep going.
No, we're good.
So
we've got to save some vinyl stuff for
the
next month.
Next month, yeah. So, I'm sure there'll be plenty. So, but yeah, I'm cool with where we're at. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, like I mean, these. So the first episode every month when we do these like big vinyl episodes, like I call them, it's always an episode I look forward to doing.
Yeah,
and it's probably the episode I have the most notes for every month.
Yeah,
I mean, because I've got four pages of over 1,600 words I've got typed up for as far as notes, and that's 4 pages and 1,600 words more than Ian.
Yeah.
Nice response there, Ian.
Well, what am I supposed to say? Your statement was factually accurate.
You emailed me something and then you didn't read it. You just tell me.
Hey, you know what? I knew you were going to read it, and I saw the headline, and I assumed that it would be an article that you may not have come across. So I had. There was actually when I got here, I don't know. I was having trouble loading my phone, but there was two other
phones.
There were 2 other articles. I think it's your internet, for the record, because the phone was working fine. I just couldn't connect. But, and I don't get reception from my phone provider in the basement here.
Really?
Yeah, not very good. But anyway, there were 2 other articles that I was going to send to you, and I forgot. Now I was trying to find them.
Well, find them and then
I'll send them to
read them, and then we can talk about them next month.
If I send them to you now, I have time to read them.
A whole entire month.
Yeah, well.
A whole entire month. You got a whole month. And ladies and gentlemen, check back with us next month to see if Ian read them.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, probably not.
Probably not. All right. Well, any questions or comments, you email us at contact@lifeandjournalpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter and on Facebook and on Podbean and on iTunes and on Stitcher and Spotify and just about everywhere else.
Yep. I won't say what I said last time.
Yeah. No tours and...
Yeah. I said we're everywhere, just like herpes on horse.
Herpes on horse. That's right. It's I almost named the episode that. But
did you really?
I almost did.
I'm starting to think that might be a cool name for a band. It'd have to be a punk band though.
Herpes and horrors?
Herpes on horrors.
Herpes on horrors. I don't know. It's
it'd have to be a punk band.
It'd have to be.
Like a really grungy.
Because it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work as like a country band.
country band.
It's a country.
I know, but it's just weird how it sounded when your inflection. It sounded like you were
country.
Yeah, it's like you were emphasizing the cunt part of it.
Oh, country. Yeah. It wouldn't work as a country band.
No, it wouldn't.
Opening for Alan Jackson.
Herpes on horrors.
Herpes on horrors.
Yes.
I think everyone would leave.
Yeah, some people might stick around and just go, herpes on horrors. Let's see what they got. Let's see what this is all about. What they got. Well, let's see what this is all about.
I like herpes. I like horrors.
See,
good connection.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's some pretty fucked up band names out there.
Of course there is.
So, I mean, none of them go mainstream. Herpes and whores wouldn't go mainstream, but
Yeah, like 14 pounds of dangling fury.
Yeah, anything but cheese.
Hey, what's wrong with anything but cheese, man?
Nothing.
Those
Except
were
herpes on horse.
Those were a couple of my band's names,
right?
For anyone.
Yeah, that's the inside jokes.
Yeah, which no one really gives a shit about. But that's all right. That's all I got, Ian.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Your old lady drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, the niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god, Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles. We mosh at the party. That